One of the more interesting developments, at least more interesting developments to me over the past few months, has been the marrying of the Trump RFK Jr. worlds. Now, when I say marrying, I mean this. RFK Jr. appears to be in there. Now, when RFK Jr. dropped out and backed Trump, I was not surprised. No one who knows politics was surprised because Democrats treated him so poorly, like a pariah. Of course, he was going to go to the guy who wasn't trying to destroy his life. So that made sense. That didn't shock me, didn't shock you, didn't shock anybody. But that Trump has really apparently leaned on him for a bunch of this Make America Healthy Again stuff, and now is giving him a critical role at head of HHS. I'm floored, and I'm thrilled, don't get me wrong, but I'm floored. I'm excited about the whole thing. I bet Jeffrey A. Tucker is joining me now, founder and president of the Brownstone Institute, Mr. Tucker himself. Okay, Jeffrey, could you explain to me how these two went from being here to like this?
Well, you're asking the right question. And it all happened so quickly in the course of, 60 days or something like that? So the big picture here is that we've had disparate movements growing really since the end of the Cold War. We had the Tea Party movement, then we had the Occupy Wall Street movement, and then we had the Whole Foods movement, of course, sort of crunchy liberals who don't like chemicals in food. Then we had the anti-pharmaceutical power movements that were very skeptical of, the forced injections for their children. Let me think what else. The Jesse Jackson, style. Where's our peace dividend after the end of the Cold War movement? And then you had this migration problem. So there's all this. Oh, and then you had the people who really want free enterprise back, and the anti-regulation crowd and the anti-tax movement. All of these disparate movements out there, but they're all occupied, sort of different sectors, right? And just like some were on the left, some were on the right, and people were screaming about this and screaming about that. And it was COVID. It was the COVID years where there was a gradual realization that we're kind of all on the same side. That we're all fighting the same kind of ruling class establishment that had embedded itself in the administrative state, in these sort of captured agencies that were working very tightly with a corporative system. And once people started talking to each other, and that really happened after the COVID years, when people said, "What the heck was that? Where are my friends?" And our communities were shattered. A lot of people moved, and new groups came together, and they were built of the left and the right, historically understood in those terms, and they all realized at the same time that they had sort of common cause and common enemies. And it's funny to me that these movements have developed separately. Oh, I should add in there the homeschooling movement, right, which was fired up as a result of the lockdowns, and the religious freedom people who were furious about the closure of their churches, and the free speech movement, which has actually been traditionally considered on the sort of civil libertarian left. Right. So all and now confronting this censorship beast. So once the enemies all came together with the COVID controls and said, okay, we're your new totalitarian masters. You're essential, you're non-essential. You can't go to the hospital. You take your fourth shot. Don't speak. You can't use social media. Your business is closed. No, you can't travel. Right. I mean, once all this happened, the full wickedness of the biosecurity technocratic state was on display, and then in our homes telling us, how many people we can have for parties, and whether we can have weddings or funerals and that sort of thing. And then that was followed by indescribably weird movements concerning transgender, where people are denying, fundamental points of biology that have been accepted since the beginning of time. That's what brought everybody together. We just realized, look, we've got some kind of strange hegemonic Goliath controlling us, and whatever our differences are, we can work them out, provided we have freedom, and that freedom consists of free speech, health freedom, food freedom, lower taxes, enterprise freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of schooling, and all those movements just suddenly at the same time realized their common interest, and pow, just like it was like 1989 and Eastern Europe. Suddenly it all just kind of came together in such a short period of time, like 45 days, 60 days, something like that. And it united with MAGA. And now we call it Maha, Doge, and MAGA. Those are the three pieces. And we have the five Avengers and all the names we recognize now. And they've become folk heroes. But it all just sort of culminated on Tuesday, Election Day in November 2024. And it looks for all the world like darn close to a revolutionary situation where this is not just, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a typical cosmetic change, the Clinton, the Bushes, and the Obamas, and so on. It doesn't seem like that at all. It seems like something really foundational and explosive because all these disparate groups have gotten together and they're creating something entirely new.
You were supportive of RFK Jr. vocally, very early on. So you know the man a lot better than I do, a lot better than most people do. As head of HHS, I know there are a lot of jokes out there about how he's going to fix McDonald's fries and things like that. But as HHS, what is realistic? What can he do? What will he do?
Well, I wish I could answer that. I've never been head of HHS, and I don't know what kind of things he's going to confront. But what they're counting on, what Vivek and Elon and Tulsi Gabbard and Trump and RFK are all counting on, is that they're going to sort of catch this wave of public support and make foundational structural changes. And if that's true, you've really got to depend on a kind of, I don't know how to put it, but like a sense of demoralization from the incumbent structures that have ruled us for so many decades. And it seems like that might actually be happening. In that case, all the usual barriers might just, in a surprising way, just melt away. I was talking to somebody the other day who said, if you said something like, I don't think you understand, the whole of Washington is set up, established, and sort of rigged to stop exactly this kind of revolutionary fervor. The whole system is designed to eat ideals and destroy reformers and domesticate, and house train, anybody who walks into the lair of the centers of power. And I forget now who was that was telling me this, and that he's very doubtful that anything real can happen. I'm not of that view, just because there are moments in history where things come together. The American Revolution, the French Revolution of 1789. I mean, for that matter, the Russian Revolution and so on. There are revolutionary stages in history. We think because we're an industrialized, advanced superpower with democratic institutions and all these stable administrative state agencies, that can't happen to us, that revolution is impossible here. But I'm not so sure. We're waiting to see. And from what I can tell from listening to these people and talking to the people, they have been working, MAGA in particular, has been working for 4 years to plot this return. They are very aware of what happened in the first term. They've had 4 years to study it, lay out their plans, examine it like Cistercian monks, in solitude, looking at the books and figuring out who the players are and plotting their attack. And now they come together with some extremely smart people and Vivek and Elon and Tulsi and especially RFK, who's written 2 ferocious, incredible books on the COVID years that are filled with footnotes and make outrageous, shocking claims about what actually happened to us. And nobody's ever taken him to a task for this book, said nobody's ever challenged his footnotes or his claims. And so they know what's going on. And they're spending the next 60 days or so trying to educate the public about what they know and what they're going to do, with very detailed, methodical plans for how they're going to get out of it. And I'm persuaded that this is not just the usual rhetoric surrounding a transition. They're really planning major disruptions.
Yeah, they sure seem to be, and I'm excited. I'm excited. Jeffrey, thank you so much, as always. I appreciate you, sir. He really nailed it when he said, it feels totally different than anything I've ever experienced, even from Trump's first term. I mean, you have swamp rats that are going to go in there, and if they change, the Democrat swamp rats and Republican swamp rats, but they all kind of just believe the same things and do the same things. I've never seen anything different, really, until now. And you know me, it's the cynical me. I would tell you, but I am hopeful. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.